The Evolution and Legacy of the NBA, a historical overview. Basketball was invented in 1891 by Dr. James Naismith, and the sport quickly gained popularity. However, it wasn't until the 1940s that professional basketball began to take shape in the US. Several leagues existed in the early 20th century, but none were able to maintain stability or national prominence. The most notable league during this period was the Basketball Association of America, BAA, founded in 1946. The BAA was formed in part to compete with the National Basketball League, NBL, which was already in existence. The BAA and NBL were rivals for several years, but in 1949, they merged to form the National Basketball Association, NBA, effectively creating the structure for modern professional basketball. The NBA consisted of 17 teams initially, with franchises based mainly in major US cities. The NBA's early years were marked by significant challenges. The league struggled to find a national audience, and the competition level was uneven. However, the 1950s saw the arrival of some of the NBA's first true superstars, most notably George Mikan of the Minneapolis Lakers. Mikan's dominance helped to bring attention to the league and establish the Lakers as one of the first great NBA franchises. The 1960s was a transformative decade for the NBA. The league grew in popularity and key players began to rise. Bill Russell, who joined the Boston Celtics in 1956, became a defining figure of the era. Russell led the Celtics to 11 championships in 13 years, a remarkable feat that cemented Boston's dynasty. His rivalry with Wilt Chamberlain, another towering figure of the era, helped elevate the sport's profile. Chamberlain, a dominant center, set numerous records, including scoring 100 points in a single game in 1962. The Celtics' success throughout the 1960s, under the guidance of coach Red Auerbach, made them the preeminent team of the decade. During this time, the NBA's national appeal grew, especially with the rise of televised games. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, the NBA faced increasing competition from the American Basketball Association, ABA, a rival league that introduced exciting new elements, such as the three-point line and a more fast-paced, high-flying style of play. The ABA's creative approach helped elevate basketball, and its rivalry with the NBA brought more attention to the sport. In 1976, the NBA and ABA agreed to merge with 4 teams: the New Jersey Nets, Denver Nuggets, Indiana Pacers, and San Antonio Spurs, joining the NBA. The merger helped stabilize the NBA and further expanded its reach. The 1970s was a decade of transition for the league. The NBA continued to grow, but it faced challenges such as financial instability and a lack of widespread fan engagement. Despite this, the era featured standout players such as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who was known for his unstoppable skyhook shot, and Julius Dr. J. Irving, who became one of the most exciting players of the 1970s with his acrobatic, athletic play and helped popularize the game. The 1980s are widely considered the golden era of the NBA. The rivalry between Magic Johnson of the Los Angeles Lakers and Larry Bird of the Boston Celtics, 2 of the greatest players in NBA history, took center stage during this decade. Magic, with his flashy passing and leadership, led the Lakers to 5 championships in the 1980s, while Bird's workmanlike, fundamentally sound game helped the Celtics capture 3 titles. The Magic-Bird rivalry brought the NBA into mainstream culture, and their battles in the NBA Finals were the focal point of the league's growth. The Lakers and Celtics dominated the 1980s, and the league became a showcase for elite talent, including players like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Isaiah Thomas of the Detroit Pistons, and Hakeem Olajuwon of the Houston Rockets. Another defining feature of the 1980s was the rise of the NBA's television appeal. The league began to sign lucrative television contracts, and national exposure led to a new generation of fans. The NBA's global reach began to expand, thanks in part to the popularity of the game in Europe and Asia. While the 1980s was the golden era of NBA competition, the 1990s became synonymous with one player: Michael Jordan. Jordan's incredible athleticism, scoring ability, and competitive drive made him a global icon. After being drafted by the Chicago Bulls in 1984, Jordan led the team to 6 championships in the 1990s, including 2 separate three-peats: 1991, 1993, 1996 to 1998. His mastery of the game, highlighted by his ability to dominate in clutch moments, made him arguably the greatest player of all time. Jordan's rivalry with other stars of the 1990s, including the likes of Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing, and Reggie Miller, fueled the league's popularity. His influence extended far beyond the court, as he became a marketing phenomenon, starring in commercials and even in the 1996 movie Space Jam. Jordan's impact on the NBA helped transform the sport into a global industry, and the league began to attract fans from all over the world. Jordan's Chicago Bulls became a dynasty, and his leadership on both ends of the floor redefined what it meant to be a complete player. The league also saw the rise of other stars in the 1990s, such as Shaquille O'Neal, who brought a new level of dominance to the center position, and Kobe Bryant, who entered the league in 1996 and would eventually form his own legacy in the years to come. The NBA also solidified its international appeal in the 1990s. Players like Jordan, Magic Johnson, and Larry Bird became global ambassadors of the sport, while the Dream Team, the U.S. men's basketball team at the 1992 Barcelona Olympics, which featured NBA legends like Jordan, Magic, and Bird, showcased the NBA's talent to the world, helping the sport's growth worldwide. As the 1990s drew to a close, the NBA continued to grow in global prominence. The new generation of players, led by Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, and Allen Iverson, began to take over as Jordan retired for the second time in 1999. The league had evolved into a professional sport with an international fan base, thriving television ratings, and an increasing number of lucrative sponsorships. The 1990s ended with a changing of the guard, as Jordan's departure created opportunities for new stars to rise. The NBA in 2000 was on the brink of entering a new era, with the modern game becoming more athletic, global, and fast-paced than ever before. From its humble beginnings in the 1940s to its global explosion in the 1990s, the NBA's history up until 2000 is a story of growth, competition, and cultural transformation. The league moved from a regional pastime to an international spectacle, thanks to the remarkable players, rivalries, and moments that defined each decade. Today, the NBA stands as one of the most popular and influential sports leagues in the world, with its roots firmly planted in the history of the 20th century.